I was born in 1917, November the 13th. Back then, you weren't born in any certain hospital. I was born in my home up near Cambria, Iowa. I was never called Loudene because Dad wouldn't say his part of his name, so he called me Dean. I was Aunt Dean, and then turned out to be Grandma Dean. And in fact, one of my granddaughters sent me a card, and she didn't know my real name, so she sent it Grandma Dean. My parents are Lou and Ann Thatcher. They were what I would call, in terms now, almost perfect parents. I never saw my dad mad in my life at me or anyone else, his farm machinery or anything. When he got disturbed at the farm machinery or anyone else, he whistled. And the louder he whistled, the more trouble he was in, we knew. My mother was the same way. My mother had you might say, a slight temper, and she would get mad at Kenneth and I once in a while, when we get in a fight especially. But otherwise, I never heard my mother scold too much or heard her mad at anyone in my life. That's the kind of parents I grew up with. I had one brother, Kenneth. He's older than I am. He was a wonderful guy as far as I'm concerned. We had our own scraps, just like all kids do. He was afraid of height. And when we get in a scrap, I would either go up on top of the windmill and wait until Dad came home or something, so I knew I was safe and I'd get down. Or I'd get up the barn on top of the rafters and stay up there. And to get even with him, he had to do the milking, and that's when cow just stood and ate out of a box on the ground, and he would milk. I'd get up on the rafter and kick dirt down in the milk, and he'd get scolded for that. That's the only way I'd pay him back. I loved animals. I had a pony, and I started riding my pony when I was 2.5 years old, and believe it or not, by myself. And now, they didn't turn me loose with the pony, but my dad would tie it behind his machinery, and I would ride a whole half a day right behind him. And when I got tired, he'd take off his coat, and I lay it at the end of the fence row, and I'd lay down on it and lay there and rest or sleep until I woke up, and then he'd put me back on my pony and tie it back on, and I'd go again with him. And then, of course, the other thing was my dogs. We had St. Bernard dogs. And the reason we had St. Bernard dogs is my dad had summer foxes. But Dad did trade and sell them to buy machinery. We had the first tractor within a radius of 10 miles either way, any way around. And I started driving it when I was 10. We got it when I was 9, and I wanted to drive the tractor as soon as I got it. I thought that'd be great. And my brother said, "Oh, you're too little, you can't drive that tractor." Well, they needed me the next year, so I grew that much in a year. I could drive the tractor from then on, and I liked that. The teacher had to have 8 classes every day. We were all together in the room. An average day would be all the classes. The teacher would call up one class at a time until she'd gotten all 8 out of every subject you had to have. Our stove was an old stove like people had, but it had a jacket around it so that the one sitting right beside it didn't burn while the one in the corner froze to death, and that's what happened if you didn't have the jacket. I taught at Maxwell for 5 years, and during that 5 years, I got 3 years of college education at night, Saturdays, and summer at Drake. Then I taught wanted to teach the physical handicap. So for 20 years, I taught the physical handicap in Des Moines. They had good minds, and I loved every minute of it.